Good morning. My name is Stephen Boggs. I'm the registrar at the University of Maryland Francis King Carey School of Law. I've constructed a video for you which I hope will help assist you in the process for taking by remote administration during these COVID-19 times the midterm exam that you may have, or if you would like just to practice exams, as well as final exams, which will come about beginning in December. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I first want to point my cursor, and you'll see it kind of hovering above my head in the Hawaiian shirt there. I've already downloaded the Exam4 software, and I would highly encourage you, if you haven't already done so, to do it now, especially if you have a midterm exam, so that in that way you've already got the software downloaded onto your computer, and it gives you the opportunity to practice with a practice exam prior to your midterm exam. The makers of the software, which is Exam4 software, the company's name is Xtegrity. They can only build one platform at a time, which means that the only software available right now is for midterm exams. So I'm just going to do this briefly and then I'm going to move on. You'll notice that the expiration date for the software, let me go ahead and zoom in, is November 6, 2020. Now, once that expires, I'll have them build the final exam software, which will be available to you in mid-November. I'll send you an email when it's ready so you can download it and test it. Again, in the practice exam mode prior to finals period starting. So that software will most likely expire at the end of December, beginning of January. Okay, so let's talk about the process. Go ahead and access the internet, www.exam4 This is where you're going to go to download the software, but then also to find your exam questions when the exam window opens for your exam. So I click Law Schools. M for Maryland Carey. The top one is Maryland Carey. I click on that. Now, if you haven't already downloaded the software, you would do that here as well. So you would type in your first name, last name, email address, and then class year. Now, the only class that is not represented is the MSL, so the Master of Science in Law. So if that's you, then just take 4L other. For everyone else, you're represented in this list. Operating systems are shown below. There's operating systems for Windows and for Mac. You'll notice on the right-hand side of that page, here are the current exams that are available at this time. So it's practice exam and other exam A. The only difference being is for practice exam, I've made the software mode open, and for other exam A, I've made the exam mode open plus network, which is internet. So you're welcome to practice with either of those. If you do, then just pick any exam number. Midterm exam numbers start at 300 and go up to 400 plus. In this case, I've stopped it at 499. So just pick a number between 300 and 499. Now please understand that for your actual midterm, if you have one, some 1Ls have a real midterm, some will have a mock, and then Consumer Protection, which is Professor Carwell's course, they have a midterm. Otherwise, to my knowledge, no other class has a midterm exam. However, when the time comes, about 24 hours before, if you do in fact have a midterm exam, you'll get an email from me specific to you, which will have your exam number to use for that particular midterm exam. Please, please, please do not make up an exam number if you in fact have a real midterm or final exam. I will provide you one, and if you don't hear from me within 24 hours of your exam, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm available at sboggs, B-O-G-G-S, at law.umaryland.edu. Okay, so you've already downloaded the Exam4 software onto your laptop computer. Let's go ahead and practice. So I click Practice Exam. I'm going to pick a number 496. Continue. Notice it says 2 hours and 10 minutes. For the practice exam, I just picked a time, so I gave you 2 hours. Now, everyone gets a 10-minute grace period. That grace period is a time that you'll use to download the questions and then open the software. So let's pretend that's what we're doing now. We're getting ready to take an exam. It's 10:51 now, so let's pretend we're taking an exam that starts at 11 a.m. So I'm going to go ahead and click Start Exam. I'm going to download. If I have a printer, I'm going to print them. Otherwise, I'm going to save them to the hard drive of my laptop. Okay. So I've saved them. They're on my hard drive of my laptop. So now I can go ahead and get set up to the software to the point that it says wait. Now for the students that don't have printers, don't worry. I've figured out a solution that will work for you, that you won't have to go back and forth. Because let me show you. If I open up the exam and I'm trying to go back and forth, it can be a little daunting, although students have done it in the past. But I've come up with a solution that will assist you, and I'll show you that in a moment. So for now, I'll just leave it up. It doesn't really matter. All right, so the two things that you're welcome to do in that 10-minute grace period before the exam starts is you can read the instructions, but not the questions themselves. So I can read about honor code, time, computer. In this case, for practice exam, I'm going to choose open mode, but not network, meaning not the internet. I also find out if I have technology problems. There's the phone number to IT. Here's the email to IT. But understand that there could be a delay. So I also give you instructions for how you can handwrite. The software automatically saves every 10 seconds. So if you were to encounter a disruption and your software closed on you or froze on you, there are ways to finish up. You can open the software again. We'll get to that. I'll give you other ideas for that. Or you can handwrite, and then I show you instructions for how to use the OneDrive app and then email it to me. Okay, so that's what you're welcome to do. Sometimes faculty will provide you specific instructions, like in this case I say you can use casebook, notes, etc. And then something, if a question ever calls you to use like a character, then never identify yourself by name in the answer itself. Only use your exam number or a title or a role, such as junior associate, law clerk, etc. All right, so I can read the instructions, but not the questions themselves, and I can get set up in the software to the point that it says wait, which is the 5th screen. So I'm preparing to start a new exam. I've opened the software. Let's get going. I chose 496 as my practice exam number, so don't choose that. You can choose any other number that hasn't already been taken between 300 and 499. For this purpose, I'm choosing practice exam. I put it in twice, and then notice there'll be a prompt that just saves me from myself in case I made an error. Okay, do I really mean 496 in practice exam? Yes. Okay. So here I put in the time for exam, which is 2 hours. Remember the grace period, I'm in it now, so I don't account for it in the software. I only account for the actual exam time, which is 2 hours. You are welcome. Let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit. So you are welcome to put in time reminders of There's boxes you can check for 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 5 minutes. I'm just going to skip that. Next screen, the third screen, is a lot of verbiage. Just click got it at the bottom. Fourth screen is the exam mode that you're going to use for the software. There are three: closed, which means you would only have access to the software to type your answer; open; and then open plus network. Open plus network means that you'd have access to the internet. So I'm typing in open. Second box appears. Since I won't have access for the exam to network, then I'm not going to type anything in there. If the instructions allowed me to have access to open plus network, open plus internet, then I would type the word network in this box. I'm not going to finish the word because we're not doing it for this one, but you get the idea. I would type network, then I would click this little box and move on to the wait screen. In this case, I'm not supposed to have access to the internet, so I don't type anything in that second pop-up box. I just click this little box, and then I go to next. And it says, are you sure that it's open laptop? Yes. Now I'm to the wait screen. So these are the two things I'm welcome to do until the exam actually begins. Now my clock says 10:56, but because I want to move this video along and not have it take forever, I'm going to go ahead and start my exam. But in your case, if this were an 11 a.m. start, I would not start. I'm welcome to get set up to this wait screen. I'm welcome to read the instructions, get a drink of water so you don't pass out from dehydration, but you get my point. So whatever your actual exam time is, that's when you would click begin exam. Until then, you can read the instructions but not the questions, and just wait until that time to start. All right, it's now 11 o'clock, or I'm saying it's 11 o'clock, so I'm going to click begin exam. So what the software is doing is it's shutting down the internet so I can't access the internet. If it were a closed exam and for COVID remote administration, I'm not recommending to faculty that they choose that mode, highly encouraging them to pick either open or open plus network, just so minimally students have access to their exam questions if they need them, if they don't have a printer. So to that end, if I have a printer and I printed my questions off, then I can mark them up all I want and then just answer directly in the software. If I have multiple choice, I can either change this. It's not static, so I can, change it to something like multiple choice. And then I could just free type an answer like A, question 2B, etc. Or there's a multiple choice feature in the pull downs. So starting left to right, there's end exam now. We'll get to that in a moment. Save, program auto saves every 10 seconds, so it's not necessary. Edit, I would caution you against cutting and pasting within your document where you've typed things into the software directly. For my no printer or my printer's not working students, I'm going to show you how to do that from the external document, and by that I mean the test questions themselves. If you are, I would suggest copy and paste and then remove the redundancies instead of cut, only because I've had a couple students actually cut and forget to paste, so their final document was incomplete. Formatting, very rudimentary, so bold, italics, underline, etc. Very few things. Exam document doesn't apply to us. Multiple choice. Now here's a feature where if you have a multiple choice exam or portion, then you could type your answers in here if you like. Just understand you have to manually move it along. So if I have 10 test questions that are multiple choice, I could type them in here, my response, so long as the answer set doesn't go beyond F, and I let faculty know that. So let's say there are 10 questions, and after 5 I'm kind of mentally fatigued on multiple choice and I want to get back to the remainder of my exam. And then there's a little button here that says hide. It's already saved what you've done, so you don't have to worry about that. Now, so say for example I'm not going to answer multiple choice here, and I'm in fact going to answer essay questions within the body of the software here. Then I start answering them, or if I don't have a printer or operable printer and I'm typing my answers onto the Microsoft Word exam question document itself, and then I'm going to copy and paste it over at the end of the exam. I'll show you how to do that. But let's say I want to go back to my multiple choice. So I go back up here to this screen if I'm not going to free type them into the software itself. Then just remember it defaults back to question 1. So don't start typing your answer to question 6, because it automatically defaults up to 1. So all you'd be doing is typing over your answer. Just make sure if you do interrupt yourself and you don't complete it the first go around, then just make sure you manually move it to the question where you left off. Otherwise, you're going to be typing over an answer you already provided on a prior question, and I would hate for you to do that. Okay, so you get the gist. I hide again, and then I go back to the software to finish my answers. Now, for my students that do not have an operable printer, here's what you can do, which I've tested on both Windows and Mac, and it works just fine. And it takes at most 60 seconds to a minute. So instead of going back and forth throughout, here's what I would recommend, is type your answers directly into the Word document themselves. In this case, what I did is I copied the 4 questions of the exam. So the practice exam, I've concocted 4 questions based upon a hypothetical that involves Humpty Dumpty and the King's Wall and a torts claim, as you can imagine. And what I did is I copied and pasted the questions, and then I started to type my answers here during the course of the exam. And because I want to move this training session along, I've already kind of prefabbed, and of course I'm not going to spoil it for you, so if you actually want to practice, you can. But what I've done is in essence, here's my answer to question 1, torts answer to question 1 here with verbiage, and brilliance. And I've done that for all 4 questions. And so I'm typing my answers onto the Word document questions that I've downloaded from the Exam4 website. And so now I've got about 2 minutes left of my exam. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to highlight those answers. I mean, I include the questions at that point, but we'll drop those off later. And for the Windows platform, I'm going to Control-C, go into the software, and then Control-V. Now for Mac users, you're going to Command-C and Command-V. And then here's what I'm going to do. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kill the question, because I don't need the question in the answer. So I've got my answer to question 1, and then I'm just going to go between 1 and 2, and here we go. And then I'm going to, let me slide the software over a little bit for you. Over in this dark space to the right, so let me zoom out for you. On this dark space to the right, there's a couple good features I want to point out to you, one of which is the timer. I put in 2 hours for the exam, and it shows 1 hour 53 minutes. So, using logic, I've expended 7 minutes so far. Also at the top, it shows me what time it is. It's 11:03 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if I had started, of course, at 11, then it would be 11:07. But remember, I did my little pleasant fiction so I can move this along. Okay, now over here also there's a little box that says Insert Answer Separator. So between question 1 and 2 I can do this. I can check this little box, and then notice the divider pops up, so then I can just put in 2. And then, I would delete the question, leave my answer, etc., etc. And then I could do that for the remainder of the question. So I now have my answers that I've copied from the exam questions that are in Microsoft Word. Since I don't have a printer or my printer doesn't work, this is the easiest way to do this, and it's only taken me a minute or so. So leave yourself a minute or 2 before time expires to be able to do this. So I'm at the end of the exam, my time is about up, I'm done, I look at my answers, that's what I want to submit, I'm ready to submit. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to end exam, and this is manual. So even at the 2 hour mark, if the little pop-up box says time is up, it doesn't automatically kick you out of the system. You have to manually get yourself out of the system. So notice this, all the font, let me zoom in for you, is black. So when I go top left, end exam, and then on the pull down it'll say end exam now, and it's like yes, and then notice the box pops up, and I want to confirm, I'm sure, I want to end exam now. Look what happens. The font turns blue. Now, what's the significance of it? It means that the exam clock has stopped. What does that mean? It means I could not, in any way or fashion, get back into the software where I just completed my answer to doctor it at all. And so you're off the clock. Nothing else can go into that software. Okay? Second step, I have to submit electronically. So I click this button, says your file has been stored on the server. I get a green and white. It says exam submittal successful. I'm done. And then I go ahead and end exam 4. End exam 4. I'm sure. And there you go. Now, I still have the questions saved electronically onto my hard drive. So I'll have you delete them, but not until you get an email from me saying that I've received your answers. Why? Because what's saved on your computer is de-encrypted. It's like binary code. It's gibberish. It would mean nothing. In the de-encrypted server in Suite 280 is where it makes sense and it looks good. So I need to confirm that I have all of everyone's answers, and then and only then would I recommend that you delete the exam questions from your hard drive. And if you've printed your questions off, then destroy them, because it'd be an honor code violation to keep them. I would also caution you not to discuss the exam, and that's human nature. We want to talk to others. How'd you do? Did you find this and this? But please understand that it isn't always the case that your classmates take it at the same time. If there is a rescheduling conflict that the rules acknowledge, then there could be the chance that one or more of your classmates are not taking it at the exact same exam time. So just be cautioned. Now, what are the problems that students may encounter? There's a couple. Sometimes, like say for example, we use 2 hours as our exam time. They might type in, for whatever reason, an hour. So like I said, the little pop-up boxes will come, but if at the end of 1 hour it says time's up, just click on that box and continue, if you know in fact you made an error in the time prompt at the beginning. Sometimes students encounter electronic issues, technology issues. If the software closes for whatever reason or freezes, if you can exit out, sometimes there'll be a pop-up box and it'll tell you try Control-Alt-Delete, enter, something like that. And you can do that and still stay within the software, then great. If not, you can go back and prepare to start a new exam again. So you'll basically have multiple submissions. Again, software saves every 10 seconds, so go ahead and just prepare to start a new exam like you did with the time remaining, and then just go ahead and start the software and type where the disruption occurred. And that's about it. If you have specific questions to me, feel free to reach out. Technical questions should go to IT. I wish you all the best on your upcoming midterms. Good luck.